Tyreek Hill is one of the greatest athletes to ever grace a football field. His blend of generational speed and route running has elevated him into superstardom and a role model amongst his peers.
Best overall player in the league, I would say Tyreek Hill.
Excluding myself, I think he's the best player.
I feel like Tyreek Hill is the best player in the NFL.
Number one, got to be Tyreek Hill.
Tyreek for sure. Number one.
Tyreek.
I got to give it to Tyreek Hill.
But that's his abilities on the football field. Off the field, Tyreek is almost textbook what Republicans think of NFL players. Countless baby mamas, countless accusations towards his character, and diva receiver activities. So I thought we could digest today how Tyreek Hill has been given so many chances and what he's done with them. Tyreek Hill came out of high school from Douglas, Georgia, one of the fastest track athletes the state had seen. He won the state's long jump title, 100 and 200 meter dash titles, won Track and Field News High School Athlete of the Year, and was one of USA Today's All-American track athletes. And this was all his senior year in 2012. But it was evident that football was something he wanted to pursue more. And while it's widely believed that he had no scholarship offers out of high school, and something he's routinely said on podcasts like Club Shay Shay, he also once mentioned and has posted on his own YouTube channel that he had an offer from NC State out of high school, but didn't like how the coaching staff was complimenting another receiver on the roster.
NC State was the only school that offered me in high school, bro. They the only D1 school that offered me in high school. And the reason I didn't go there was TJ Graham. He went off in that game.
So he enrolled at Garden City Community College in Kansas. And if that sounds familiar, you've probably seen this jackass yelling profanities at them on Netflix once upon a time.
You motherfucker! What's happening, bitch? You sorry motherfucker! You bitch! You a bitch, homeboy!
But this was back in 2013, before Coach Brown was sending racist messages to the players. That season, Tyreek would get solid playing time as a freshman, and then broke out on the national scene his sophomore year, averaging 5.8 per carry for 638 yards, 35 receptions, 557 yards, and 11 all-purpose touchdowns. Using him in the gadget role garnered him offers from Alabama, Texas, Georgia, but ultimately he decided to go to Oklahoma State. Mind you, this entire time Tyreek was also a track athlete, getting recruiting attention from schools of similar magnitudes like LSU, but continued to tell him his grades were never at par to garner them making an offer. Basically, he couldn't average the bare minimum 2.3 GPA that a school would require you to pass. But let's move to Stillwater, Oklahoma, where Hill immediately became a weapon in Mike Gundy's offense. In year one, he had 534 yards on the ground, caught 31 passes for 281 yards, and was a nightmare to face on special teams. 996 return yards, were second in the nation behind only J.J. Nelson, with this notable clip that helped him achieve first team All-Big 12 and clinch the Cowboys a bowl game berth.
Hill has it. Tyreek Hill with speed. Breaks through. Hill with the speed. Look out. This is Bedlam.
But this would be the first time Tyreek would have a law enforcement interaction. Just a week after making that play, he would be arrested on domestic charges. Crystal Espinal, Hill's pregnant girlfriend at the time, was admitted into a hospital with a variety of injuries that included a black eye, a busted lip, and cuts and bruises to her head and neck area. According to the report Espinal gave the Stillwater Police Department, Hill had grabbed her neck with his hands, pinned her against the wall, and then thrown her to the ground like a, quote, rag doll. She told an officer that Hill had picked her up by the hair and put her in a headlock. After Espinal had screamed, "I can't breathe," several times, she alleged he released her, then sat on top of her, punching her in the stomach. Tyreek spent the night in jail and was charged with felony domestic assault and battery by strangulation. He didn't have the notoriety he does in the present or the playmaking impact and was released from the team the following day. He would ultimately plead guilty and was given 3 years of probation with a 52-week anger management program. He would be given another chance, this time closer to home at West Alabama, a Division II school that would allow him to recoup his value as an NFL draft prospect. And it appeared he kept his head down, put up similar numbers to do what he had to, and welcome his first child into the world. Yes, that child. While many were expecting him to go undrafted due to the charges and lower level competition, he flashed his track and field abilities running a 4.25 40-yard dash at his pro day. And for a team that signed Javon Belcher, a 2009 undrafted linebacker that would murder his girlfriend and commit suicide after, they were willing to go down that road again.
With the 165th pick in the 2016 NFL Draft, the Kansas City Chiefs select Tyreek Hill, wide receiver, West Alabama.
He was playing behind some washed-up receivers, allowing him to lead all receivers in receptions and continue to make his mark on special teams. But he truly broke out in Week 12 against the Broncos when he had a receiving, rushing, and kickoff touchdown to beat them 30-27. He would earn All-Pro first team as a punt returner, but only flashed what his receiver abilities could be. And then 2017 happened.
Tyreek Hill Tyreek Hill!
Tyreek Hill, sooner or later.
Tyreek Hill for the touchdown! He'll go! Impossible!
More than 1,100 yards and 7 touchdowns, Tyreek Hill had fully introduced himself to the league and was beginning to become a big name. And lucky for him, a special prospect had been given the keys to the offense for the next year. And this led Tyreek to be the #1 receiver in all of fantasy, with 1,400 yards and 12 touchdowns. 2018 seemed to be his year, with everything going right for him. The Chiefs were a play short of the Super Bowl, but he seemed to be on top of the world, and one of the upcoming faces of an early dynasty. Well, it seemed like it. In March of 2019, the Kansas City Star reported Hill was under police investigation for battery involving him and Espinal's 3-year-old son, who had suffered a broken arm. Espinal was Tyreek's fiancée at the time, but not much longer. It does feel important to note that in July of 2019, Espinal gave birth to twins, fathered by Hill. So once again, this investigation would be occurring while she was pregnant. A child abuse investigation was opened about a month later, and a Kansas district attorney ruled that a crime did happen, but there's not enough evidence to decipher who the person that committed the action was. So that was that. Until the very next day, on night 1 of the NFL draft, where we're all waiting to see Kyler Murray walk up to the podium. A call of the couple leaks, making Tyreek look even worse.
You're not listening to me. Think about why a freaking 3-year-old would tell everybody and anybody that you broke his arm. Why would do that? Then why?
I'm the one that plays with him, maybe. That's why. You don't do with him. I'm the one that get physical with it.
No, I play with a hell of a lot more than you do. You just sit on your game all the damn time.
Right. That's all it needs to do.
For you against that detective and the CPS people, and they said time and time again that literally kept saying, "Daddy punches me," which you do when he starts crying. What do? You make him open up his arms and you punch him in the chest. And then if he gets in trouble, you get the belt out and you do.
Okay, so what about you? What you don't do? So I'm just gonna take it.
No, I told
you don't.
Up to this point, Hill had been participating in spring OTAs, not being disciplined yet. It was only after the call had been released that the GM said Hill would be sidelined from team activities. So the investigation was reopened. And now we're all the way into July, and the entire audio clip has been released with Tyreek claiming that Espinal made up these rumors. And the NFL, they decided to pull a Jets front office and tell the public they've always had the audio. And while I suppose we, the public, should have expected them to have the audio the entire time, it just seemed odd they hadn't done anything with it. But then they announced the befuddling decision.
We are following breaking news here on CBS Sports HQ. There will be no suspension for Chiefs wide receiver Tyreek Hill. The league sending out a statement today saying that it will not suspend the Kansas City wide receiver. He can attend Chiefs training camp, which opens Friday, July 26th.
This sent the sports world into a frenzy. It was about peak Roger Goodell can't make disciplined decisions time, and for good reason. After allegedly hitting his child and threatening his fiancée, the same woman whose lip he busted and punched her pregnant stomach, Tyreek remained in the same position he did just a year ago, unpunished. The 2019 season would begin with the dislocated SC joint that caused Hill to miss 4 weeks, the closest thing to a suspension in his career. But everything would work out for him and the Chiefs, as they would win the franchise's second Super Bowl thanks to Kyle Shanahan's inability to close a big game. The pandemic began, and it was another great year for the Kansas City Chiefs that saw Tyreek reach a career-high 15 touchdowns en route to another Super Bowl appearance. Only this year, they would be humiliated 31-9 by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and it included Antoine Winfield Jr. doing his famous peace celebration directly to his face. The 2021 season went by and was another great year for the Chiefs, and notably, Tyreek saw his most work in his career to this point, with career highs in targets with 157 and receptions with 111, 24 more than his previous high. This was a contract year for him, and he made the most of it. The Chiefs were stopped short of the mountaintop again this year, losing to the Bengals in the AFC Championship, and it was time for Tyreek to make a decision of where he'd play next. It was evident in the moment he would be influenced by Davante Adams, who was traded to the Las Vegas Raiders and immediately signed a 5-year contract worth $28.5 million per year and $67.5 million guaranteed. Hill and Adams were consensus top 5 receivers in the league, so Hill knew he could demand that value somewhere. And so he did.
That's right. Don't adjust your television. Tyreek Hill has been traded from Kansas City to Miami.
Hill would now be the highest paid receiver in the league due to his talents on the field, and they warranted it. But things could never be as easy as he wanted to be paid what he's worth on the field. We're going to jump into the future, back to the Club Shay Shay interview.
And it will be some games where, like, I get 2 targets. I get 3 targets. And we'll go into meetings and my coach will be like, hey, we got to get you involved. We got to get you involved. And I'm like,
Nah, y'all need to get me involved yesterday. Don't tell me about it today.
Exactly. You know how to, the
do.
feeling. So I'm calling my agent every week after they say some crazy stuff like that. Like, bro, I got to get out of here.
So
I know in the discussion he's talking about him not feeling valuable in a football aspect, the year in which he had career high in targets and receptions, as we just mentioned. But even if you felt that way somehow about the football part, that is what it is. But could you imagine saying you didn't feel valuable and you had to get out of there? Not only to a team that gave you a chance when no one else would by drafting you, putting up with the backlash they knew they would take when making that decision, but you were arguably the largest NFL player conduct situation of the last 3 years. And not only did they stand by you, they didn't even suspend you. The only bit of thing that they did was that when the audio was released during the draft, they said, all right, we can't have you playing in OTAs, an optional OTA. I can't think of a way they could have made you feel more valuable. So it's just unreal to me that he would use language like that to dismiss them. Just a thorough display of immaturity. And I don't think that's surprising now to this point. So now it's Miami's turn to show how they would be more valuable. And they did. In 2022, he had more than 170 targets and more than 1,700 receiving yards, both immediate career highs. He may have given up a playoff contender, but he was getting paid like he felt he deserved, putting up numbers he knew he was capable of in a nice area, and it seemed like he may finally be done with his extracurricular activities off the field. Although it has been about 4 years now, so he's due. From February to May, he'll welcome 3 children to 3 different women into the world, making that 6 children with 4 different women. And in June of 2023, he reached an undisclosed settlement for assault allegations after being accused of slapping an employee in the back of the head. This is the first and only time in this video an assault accusation against Hill was against a man. USA Today published a police report saying Tyreek was fishing for tarpon. 2 women then got on one of the boats on the dock, and when the captain was rightfully upset that the 2 random people hopped on his boat, Tyreek said, quote, "I can buy you and the boat. I'm number 10 of the Miami Dolphins." Real level-headed response there, and I can only presume the slap took place from there. But again, nothing ever came of it as the employee initially wanted to press charges but was able to reach a settlement. Likely because he is number 10 on the Dolphins and has never really faced consequences of his actions other than just paying out of pocket for it. 2023 was almost a carbon copy football season for him, once again achieving over 170 targets and 1,700 yards. Only this time he would lose in round 1 of the playoffs to, the team he deemed didn't value him. The Chiefs would go on to win the Super Bowl, once again over the 49ers in a bad Kyle Shanahan performance. What was Tyreek Hill doing in February? He was being sued by breaking an Instagram model's leg because she beat his ass. And I'm sure some of you are assuming Tyreek was in her DMs for her to be there. Well, the much crazier reality was that her son was at Tyreek's football camp and he invited her home from there. Now technically, this also occurred in June of 2023, but Sophie Hall only posted about this file on February 27th of 2024. She claims that Tyreek and her were doing football drills in the backyard playfully. She claims that Hill was humiliated because she could hold her own and even knock him back a couple times, leading him to dart at her with a crushing force. Tyreek taking his anger out on a woman? Where have we seen that before in this video? But that being said, in a deposition viewed by the Daily Mail, Hall admits that despite crying in pain and being unable to walk after the incident, she had sex with Hill hours later and again the next day. And this information only came forth just a couple months ago. And if you didn't pick up on the theme of this video, Tyreek wasn't suspended by the NFL or met with any conduct by the Dolphins, who at least acknowledged last year's big accusation. I do want to stress again that these 2 events took place just 3 weeks apart. And while I think the evidence provided has shown that Hill has a problem for keeping his conduct under control, it's still no excuse for how he was treated in 2024 season opener. On September 8th, Hill was pulled over for reckless driving and failure to wear a seatbelt outside of Hard Rock Stadium before the Dolphins season opener against the Jacksonville Jaguars. During the stop, Miami-Dade police would use unnecessary force and escalate the situation that was thankfully caught on their body cams. Just hours after being a victim of police brutality, Hill would haul in 7 receptions for 130 yards that included this 80-yard touchdown for a victory.
Rice driving, that is 6! Oh, he's a ghost!
He would make a quick media tour the week after, going on the likes of NBC, CNN, and of course making his comments at the Dolphins press conference the following week, where he admitted he could have handled the situation better. So for all the back the blue dick riders, there, he said it, but it absolutely didn't warrant the force they used against him, and it's crazy that Danny Torres, the officer that committed these actions to Hill, has had 13 prior investigations into him over using excessive force, and he's still with the force in an administrative duty, but that's a completely different topic for a completely different video. I do think this is a good segue into the good Tyreek has provided people. I think speaking out about police brutality and owning up to his elevated position in this specific scenario is a great thing. Tyreek donates $5,000 each year for every touchdown he scores, up to 10 touchdowns, for a scholarship fund that the Tyreek Hill Family Foundation runs. The foundation opens in 2017 and has this Cheetah Scholarship Fund, free football camps, charity basketball games, fundraisers. I mean, it's a pretty good cause. Although the website isn't clear as to when the free football camps are, but they can certainly tell you where you can find his paid ones for $235 just to attend and get a t-shirt. And, of course, not meet Tyreek Hill. But don't worry, you can meet him and do more for $1,300 for your preteen. My bad, back to the net positives. He appears to have gone on children's hospital visits with the team. He's done turkey drives for the community, raised over $10,000 for the homeless during the wintertime in 2021. He's raised over $150,000 for intensive care youth at his annual gala. It's evident that he tries to give back to the community. And even if he recycles posts on the foundation's Instagram page that's mostly game day posts, he's giving back, which I can't understate how great that is given the position he's in. But it's difficult for those pros to outweigh the cons when we fast forward to the present to hear about another domestic dispute between Tyreek and a now ex-fiance. Through a police report, it was said that Hill was in a room with his wife, mother-in-law, and baby. He threw a laptop to the ground and grabbed his daughter out of his wife's arms after being told he's not active in the child's life. There's video here of the couple walking towards the balcony of his condo, and the very next day, she filed for divorce. Now, the report says that nothing turned physical, despite there being a bruise on the wife's chest. Again, no charges were filed against Tyreek, and this does seem the most tame of all the situations we've discussed to this point, but I think Dan Le Batard puts it best about Tyreek's actions.
Maybe there's a he said, she said of some sort in another incident involving Tyreek Hill, and I'm guessing, by the way, that if he's getting caught this much, he's probably not getting caught every time something like this happens. So you can go he said, she said, but the man has proven to be dangerous to women and children, and we've known it for a long time. Like, that part has not been any kind of secret. We've forgiven it because he's fast and great at football, and he rose right to the top of football.
There's a lot of behavior patterns I didn't bring up in this video that could have made it. His disobedience to follow the NFL's guidelines against socks and just taking fines for it instead, blissful negligence. His carefree attitude to slander his current or former team with publicly saying he wants out of Miami after the season finale. Him being a Trump supporter despite not living up to many Republican values. What I can't understand is this is an athlete that has dealt with 6 different public disputes and probably more behind the scenes, as Le Batard pointed out. He's taken court-mandated anger management classes and continues to show he has not improved from these incidents and has still never faced conduct from his employer other than once being released from his college program. But I suppose that's what a first ballot Hall of Fame resume earns you. The ability to evade rightful consequences for your actions. As the great Mina Kimes put it, he's a breathtaking display of the human body's potential, followed by a reminder of its terrifying capacity for misuse. It's no longer a question of will a team or the NFL condone his actions. It's now, will there ever be a breaking point?